That is, the problem is that we don't quite understand what does it mean to advance by ourselves. On the other hand, if we say that we need to resemble the Creator is above the good force and the bad force. Both of them are in His hands. He Himself is the force of bestowal and love, and He created opposite that in the created beings, the opposite desire, a will to receive, and also hatred and rejection, the ego. And then we seemingly exist between the two of them. If we would be operating only out of our ego, it would be good. If we would be operating only out of the will to bestow, it would also be good. But if we exist in between the two of them, already we feel ourselves in a bad state. One time it's this, one time it's that, descents and ascents, all kinds of changes in our state, and we don't know what to do. And here, we truly need to position ourselves on the correct basis. That we have to manage the bad force and the good force, and it doesn't matter how we call it, good or bad, these two forces, the force of connection and the force of separation, bestowal and reception, we have to manage these two forces by ourselves. To be like the Creator means to be above these two forces and to manage them, both of them. Usually, we think that the good force is the Creator, and the bad force is what He awakens in us. So then we have to cope with the bad, but we also have to cope with the good force. We have to awaken it as well. That is, to awaken. We have to awaken both of these forces and to manage them in tandem. As let's say we drive in a car or use any kind of instrument, usually we have to control two opposite forces, the plus and the minus, left and right, etc. And it's not just with one force. Therefore, we have to not to wait until the bad force awakens in us in order to search for where is the opposite good force, the connection with the Creator, but rather we, by ourselves, need to awaken the bad and the good, and not to just be without any action, simply in standby mode, silent. Therefore, it says that man should always awaken the bad force over or against the good force, and one should manage that war between them. And between us, really, we should not look at these two forces as though one is preferred over the other, because there is no bad without the good and no good without the bad. Rather, only in the relation between them we can find exactly at the neutral point between them, and both of them are working on us. We can awaken them, and this is how we build ourselves, in a way that we are incorporated with both of them equally, and we can awaken the bad force, and upon it later we can bring the good force, and that way build the system, build our system, and to hold on to both of them with both of our hands and see before us the final goal, where these two forces, the good force and the bad force, will connect correctly, and through the connection between the two of them, we will build the state of the end of correction, where the bad force comes and it is revealed entirely. The good force comes and it balances it, it corrects it. And that way, with the right combination between the good and the bad, we reach the balanced state which is correctly organized. Let's say, in short, we have to manage with both of our hands the process of our advancement until we reach the correction. And in this process, we must not wait for the bad force to come. Many times we are in a state where it's not this and it's not that, but rather it's kind of a state where one is seemingly in the air. I don't have anything bad or anything good. The life goes by, the days go by, and there is no benefit out of it. But rather, I need to try, as it says, one should always agitate the bad inclination over the good inclination, and that way to advance. So we have to try to always be in a state where these two forces exist next to us, and we are constantly trying to be in this war, in this management. We are trying to rise with the force of the right, the good force bestowed over the bad force. But of course, we also have to maintain that bad force, the force of reception. Without the bad, the good will disappear. Upon what will we feel it, discover it as good? And therefore, to make it precisely have this correct balance between the bad and the good, between rejection and the inclination towards connection, between the will to receive and the will to bestow, with like all opposing forces in nature, the most important thing is the balance. This is our work, the middle line. The middle line is called exactly Israel, Yashar Kel. It aims us to the Creator, who is above these two forces. And we, from below, also need to arrange ourselves in such a way to establish our states, and that way to advance and to go forward. This is why, if we feel in some moment in our life that we are seemingly cancelled, it's not bad, it's not good, it's nothing, it is a sign that we are not awakening the bad force. Now you might say, how come? What do I need it for to awaken that bad force? Without the bad force, I will have nothing to work on with the good force. This is why, as it says, there was no joy before him, before the Creator, before he created the heaven and the earth, these two opposing things, so that from that moment on, it becomes possible to start arranging the correct connection between them, the correct control of one over the other. But without the bad force, the good force will disappear. Without the good force, the bad force will not be revealed, because the revelation of each and every force is in order to be opposite the other one. So we have to realize our role to balance the bad and the good together, because we are actually from the bad force, and we have to correct it through the good force, so that the two of them will be in balance. Darkness shall shine as light. The bad force will be revealed only in order to emphasize the good force, the force of the light. The darkness has to be there so that I will see. If it will only be light, I won't be able to see that it is light. I need the contrast, the difference between the two of them. The boundaries where we prefer one over the other, etc. There's a lot of material about it, many excerpts that talk about it. You can find them, but the most important is that what we need to do is to constantly discover the evil, the bad, in order to bring upon it a good force. And this has to be so to begin with. When we get there, we have to discover the good force, the creator. And for that, we have to discover the bad force, the force of separation, and the collision, the conflict between them, meaning it should be clear to us to begin with, what is it that we're doing at every moment in life? We want to bring the good force, and for that, we have to discover beforehand the bad force. The bad states have to be revealed first, even though the good force should be ready for work first of all. So first we have a connection with the Creator. We learn how to do it, how to arrange the 10 and all of these things. Later on, once we have that, then we begin to scrutinize where we have any evil, whether we have something that's wrong. And then we discover it. After it is pretty much clear where it is, then we are concerned about how do we balance the bad force with the good force. And then we can advance on the middle line, which is called the golden path towards the purpose of creation. And this is how it is each and every time. So we're always in the middle and stepping forward correctly from success to success. This is why we have to discover all the trash, the waste, in order to discover that place. Like the Creator says, I've created the living nation, and that there was no joy before Him like the day when the heaven and the earth were created, both of these things. This is why we have to try, most importantly, is not to just sit idle. As it says, a fool sitting idly, eating his own flesh. That is the worst possible thing. And we burn a lot of time in these states where it's not here, it's not there. Therefore, arranging one against the other, the good force and the bad force, one opposite the other, and to be with a good spirit, even when we only feel bad and we're now searching for what might be the good that could balance it, and to the middle line, we should be happy. Just don't be idle. Don't be idle without any work. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, the moment that we feel that the bad force is eating us up, it's working on us, and it's not that we have invited it, but rather it is drawn from above, immediately we have to approach its correction. Even though it is preferable that we will invite both the good and the bad by our own forces between us, and we need to learn how do we do it in the society, in the group. Then it is a lot easier and quicker and more accessible when we invite the bad and we also invite the good, and we're not afraid of the fight and awakening things that are kind of stinging as much as possible, because by that we can scrutinize and increase our connection and our understanding and the love between us. As it says, that love covers all crimes. If there are no crimes, there wouldn't be any love. So let us not be afraid. Let's go forward, but in a mature way, with both of these forces, just like we are holding the steering wheel, right? In such a way, we will continue onward. We can see these things even in our corporeal life, that all of the correct actions become clear and are activated by two opposite forces always, and this stems from the upper systems, where I have created the evil inclination, I have created the spice of Torah, and we need to be between the two of them, to take the evil inclination, that certainly the created it with a purpose, and the spice of Torah in order to correct it, and then by balancing the two of them, we need to reach revelation until we will discover, reveal Amalek and correct him. There is no greater correction than when we bring the force of the right, the force of bestowal upon the force of reception. We neutralize it seemingly from the bad, and then we turn this bad into good, meaning the bad force joins the good force, and we advance. And it's not that they cancel out, but rather they are advancing us, promoting us towards the goal. So that the bad force joins the good force, and then the two of them work together. We need to learn this, how to do it. But in truth, when a person starts to grasp and to see this process, how we go through it, he sees how correct and good it is, and what kind of a relief he starts to feel within when everything starts being organized as a single path leading towards the goal, and there is no bad in the world, no bad, everything is only good. And then the Creator is called good and doing good to the bad and to the good, to everyone, and then everyone receives this complementation. We will scrutinize all of these things. In the meantime, we are continuing with the blotting out, the obliteration of Amalek. The correction starts with us having to correct the intention to receive, so that it will disappear, and all of the force that we should have from this action with Amalek, we take from him all of the forces from the will to receive, and by it we elevate, we increase the will to bestow. Why? Because the level of Binah is a very weak one. It's milk, it's the mother, it's the good force, the force of bestowal, kind of broad heart. It's all like that. And if we connect to it the force of Amalek, specifically the bad force, in such a way that it surrenders under the force of Binah, the force of bestowal, then the force of Binah gets power. It's no longer neutral, it's not just milk, it becomes blood, it becomes a very strong force. And this is how we advance. This is why we need to learn how to work with it. To kill Amalek means the intention of in order to receive, but to take from him all of the forces and transfer this force to bestow. This is why we need to know how to manage these things together. By that, we are building out of ourselves that same force, that height, which is like the Creator. Like the Creator. This is what it says. Return, O Israel, all the way to the Lord your God. Then we are truly in the right work. Bringing ourselves back to the Creator. So all of this exists in the blotting out of Amalek, which means only the intention of in order to receive. However, we do need his force. Without his forces, we cannot rise. The degree of bestowal is very passive, neutral. If we don't add to it this forceful power of reception that wants to rule, then the force of bestowal cannot rise, and it remains on the degree of chafetz chesed, delighted in mercy. That is powerless.